Welcome back, everybody, to Rantpocalypse Talks, the Game of Thrones. I'm Justin.
Hey, I'm Kelly, and we are a mother and son game. Oh, I'm sorry, the Game of Thrones talkers.
Yes, we are. Mom always gets confused because we have a video game channel as well. So she's like, "We're the game playing duo." Oh wait, no, we're the
I was
Game of
making,
Thrones talking duo at this point. It
I
was a
was,
good recovery. It was a
I was
fantastic
making,
recovery.
I was making fun of you.
Oh, you were?
I'm saying you're so tired you didn't realize I was actually making fun of
Oh
you.
no, I did not know that. I am
Yeah,
that tired right now.
yeah.
It's been a hellaciously long weekend for me. I went out of town to do my annual fantasy football draft.
He says hellaciously long, like he worked.
No, there was no work involved. The only working was this. This was the working that I was doing. Just one drink after the other, after the other, after the other. But it was a fun weekend. But now I'm really tired because we just got back in like late last night. Then of course, I was like, we've got to get back in order to watch Game of Thrones. Even though I knew the episode was leaked and I could have watched it last week and everything.
Right, I know.
But I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to watch it. I wanted to watch it in its pure HD glory on my television screen out there in the living room. And I wanted to watch it with like the rest of the world more or less, because not everybody pays attention to all of those leaks and
Right,
everything. A lot of
right.
people, they're just like, I watch Game of Thrones on Sunday night. That's when I watch it. I don't give two craps about whether or not there was a leak, because I probably didn't hear about it because I don't ever go on social media, and they're probably a better person for it.
Yeah,
And welcome everybody in the chat. We are glad that you guys stopped by to hang out with us as we discuss Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 6, Beyond the Wall. If this was if you had a fantasy draft, tying it in with Game of Thrones,
yeah.
and you had the number one pick in the Game of Thrones fantasy draft, who would you select?
Ooh.
And this is we can go only humans with this
Oh,
one.
darn it. Did you see it go across my face?
Yeah, I did. I saw that.
I was
Well,
like,
you could choose. Okay, you can choose humans or White Walkers / the Night King.
no, I'm going to pick no one.
No one. You would pick no one in the fan. You
No,
can't.
I have to pick somebody. I have
Yeah,
to pick
you gotta
somebody.
pick somebody.
The Night King
The Night
at,
King.
at this point.
Man, look at you, traitor.
I want to pick John,
Just
but
betraying the humans like that.
I want to pick John.
Well, why wouldn't you
But
pick John?
okay, I pick John.
Okay.
I love John.
John is fantastic. I'm
Yes.
glad that the world is coming around to the fact that Jon Snow, he's just the most honorable man. He is a man's man.
Yes. Hmm.
He's a ladies' man.
Oh my God.
He, you
The
know,
heat was on.
yes,
The heat was on.
yes, the heat was definitely on. Isn't that a TV show, or is that
I think
the theme
I think
song?
it's a song.
Yeah.
The heat is on.
Yes, the heat was definitely on in this episode. That's for sure.
Who would you pick?
Well, if you pick John,
Hmm.
and we obviously can't have the same picks, but you got number one, so
Okay.
I can't steal John away from you unless I went with a trade or something like that. But if I had to select in the Game of Thrones fantasy draft, and I'm the number
Yeah.
two pick,
Okay.
man, this is a difficult decision. Who do we have here? We've got a lot of players on the board. We got a Jamie, we've got a Brienne of Tarth. That's a really good choice right there. Brienne of Tarth would be a really bad
Cersei.
choice. Cersei. I mean, I could go the complete opposite of you.
Yeah.
I'm all about the evil ways, and
Yeah.
for all of the goodness that John encapsulates, and how
Right.
he's like a beacon of shining light. Cersei is like the darkness that consumes you, and it's like her darkness versus John's light. Yeah, I'm gonna
She
go with-
was she was like the eclipse today.
She was like the eclipse today, and John is our sunshine, and Cersei just eclipsed his ass out. So momentarily though, see, like he came back rather quickly.
Right.
It was only like what, an hour or two that Cersei would have consumed him with the darkness.
Well, if it was like the eclipse today, it was 2 minutes was like the tops in the nation, and we stood outside for 45 minutes and saw nothing.
It was
So
pretty cool. I saw it today. I thought it was really neat, and it is weird because it's Game of Thrones talk and everything. But the eclipse is once every 40 years, and here in the United States, or at least I guess maybe it's North America, the last time that it happened was what, 1918. At least in the United States, I know. I don't know if it's like all of North America, but I thought that just like the continental United States, the last time it was only like for us was 1918, which is pretty freaking crazy because we were not around then.
right. Well, speak for yourself, young man.
Yeah.
I There is another one coming in 2024,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be really awesome
Oh, okay.
in Dallas. In Dallas.
Oh, wow.
So
Well,
yeah.
I've got to stick around that long here in Dallas in order to see that. But yeah, the eclipse is really cool. But enough of all that. Enough
Let me
of,
just say hi to Tammy real quick because she was curious if we're live right now. And yes, we are live right now. Look,
Yes.
we'll do the chicken dance because of you, Tammy.
Yes, all you podcast listeners are missing the chicken dance right now. All right, so let's get into the episode. We've got our
All right.
topics and everything that we're going to discuss in Beyond the Wall, our recap of that episode. Number 1, overall episode thoughts. Topic number 2, did plot armor save too many of our heroes in this episode? Topic number 3, where the hell is Bran? Come on. We need Bran around for some big things in this episode. So where the hell is Bran? And then topic number 4, episode finale predictions / is Cersei setting a trap? So getting right into the synopsis for this week's episode, Jon and the Brotherhood. Again, like I said, you guys, I'm tired, I'm sleepy. We're gonna count on you guys in the chat to really pep us up and bring
To pull this thing out.
yeah, to bring the really good discussions this week. But yeah, so in this episode, Jon and the Brotherhood hunt the dead. Arya confronts Sansa. Tyrion thinks about the future, and a whole lot of badassery and plot holes happen. So, what did you think about this episode overall, Beyond the Wall?
I did think there were a lot of convenient things that happened. A lot of convenient things, but it didn't matter to me because I loved it so much. Was it not the most gorgeous episode ever?
It was really fantastically gorgeous. I'm glad you brought that up like at the very beginning because I don't know if you watched it. I know you before
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes.
That was one of the coolest things.
Yes, the making of.
Yes.
The fact that the whole frozen lake scene was actually this what did they call it?
Well,
A quarry. It was like a quarry.
Yeah, they did it
That
at the Wolf Hill Quarry in Belfast. Yeah.
Yeah, and they put down concrete, yards and yards and yards. Just the amount of money that they spent concreting that thing in, and turned it into this frozen lake. Oh, it was glorious. You guys have got to go watch the making of this episode. It could have been my favorite thing.
No, I'm right there with you. If you want to go do a YouTube search, it's just Game of Thrones, the Frozen Lake, I think is what, or the Frozen Lake scene, I think is what they called the name of this video. It's 13 minutes. Like you said, it's kind of a documentary of sorts, and they do it with a lot of the episodes. They did it with the battle a couple of weeks ago in episode 4. Or wait, was it episode 4? Whenever Jaime battled the Dothraki, and then
Right.
Dany came in with their dragons. That one was really badass, but I felt like this one just took it to another level, and it was incredible to see that. Yeah, like you said, they built an entire lake. Like they made a frozen lake, which is insane to me.
What was really interesting was the combination of practical effects and CGI.
Yeah.
Like the explosions when the dragons come through and they're, just shooting the fire out of their mouth and just blowing stuff up. They had all these series of explosions that they set up. I thought it was very cool.
Yeah. It was super cool. Those charges they have set up to where they go off in succession it's so cool because it makes it so much more lifelike. Like you would literally see like the very beginning of the flames coming out of the dragon's mouth. It would be a little bit smaller, and then as it hits everything and it just goes off in that explosion, it just gets bigger and bigger. Yeah, that was freaking incredible. I thought one of the coolest parts about that whole behind the scenes and making of the frozen lake, one is the fact that that they filmed it in Iceland, and they also filmed it in Belfast, which I thought was really cool, and that's why they built that frozen lake, is because they needed to make it look like they went from the scenes that they shot in Iceland right into the frozen lake scenes, and the fact that they had to freaking get to these places like on more or less monster trucks.
Yeah, I know.
Could you imagine that? I mean, I've been a part of now like at least one movie set where you're going behind the scenes and like you're seeing how they put everything together, and it's crazy to think of like just a very simple set and all of the work that goes into it, where it's like a location that's already pre-made for you, but having to make a location, to make a set the night before and like during the night, so that way the cast and crew, when they get there, everything's all ready for them. I mean, they freaking had green screen walls out there in the middle of all this snow and ice, and yeah, it's incredible. And that's the kind of stuff that, to me, when you take this episode as a whole and you're like, was it really that great? I mean, people are like going bananas for it online, and when you're watching it, and I've seen it 3 times now, and so when you're watching it over and over again, and you're questioning like, what the hell is going on? Like, why is Jon trying to fight these whites off whenever he could just get on Drogon? Why the hell did Thoros get mauled by this zombie bear, but yet they take him with them and he just like dies on the hill, like with no, like there was nothing else that he really did. Like, he didn't do anything else after they picked him up and took him to that quarry. Did you
expect them to just go, hell, just leave him?
No, it's not that. It's just like, why did he live?
Why did they not pull him into their group and keep him warm all night? It wasn't until the next morning they discovered, oh shit, he died last night.
Exactly. And then Tanya,
I think he froze.
Yeah, oh darn it, he froze to death. And then Tanya points out like the Hound was like an overgrown toddler. Why the hell would the Hound throw those rocks out there? I get it, you're bored and stuff, but come on. You like he turned into the biggest dumbass in this episode.
I thought it was really interesting because only guys would sit there and watch him. Had there been a woman there,
really?
Someone would have said, knock that shit off. Don't do that, you dumbass. But all the guys are like, oh, man, look at him throw a rock. You guys want to throw a rock, too? Because he knocked that jaw right off of that,
the white.
Cheese.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole lot. This is, you won't be able to see this, obviously, if you're listening to the audio version. But if I pull up I usually do a loves and hates, and usually my loves is all the way down. It fills the entire page, and then my hates are usually only 1 to 2 things. But my hates this episode are all the way down to the end of the page. But then you watch one of those documentary behind the scenes thing, and
right,
you're watching this episode, and you're just the fact that Dany and the dragons meet the Night King and fight off the Whites and the White Walkers, and you're just completely swept into the episode.
It was the whole point of the world's lamest plan to go out there with 7 dudes, and obviously we had more than 7 because we had a bunch of red shirts that went out and died. I kept going, oh, was that one of our dudes? Oh my God. Mm-hmm. Nope, it was another one of the extras. That we didn't ever see.
No.
But, thank God they sent them. Although, again, that was another one of those convenient things, because I think in Game of Thrones of old, we would have had a lot more of our own heroes would have died. So
I think that they would have. It is weird to see that now that, not a lot of them die anymore. But as far, and we'll get into that in just a second, because I do want to talk about that with topic number 2. But, so, I mean, your overall episode thoughts, did it matter for you? Didn't matter for you? Like,
not
you were
at
just
all.
completely amazed?
I loved it.
Yeah. It's so weird.
I didn't have a list of hates.
You didn't?
You fucking bastard.
I did have a list of hates. I mean, I can go into them real quickly, but
no, it makes you sound like a nitpicky shit.
No, I know. Well, I know. That's the thing. Like, there's so many people just like nitpicking the hell out of Game of Thrones right now, because like if you just do a simple Google search and type in Game of Thrones, I pulled it up earlier, and let me just see where's it at. It's over here, I think. Oh no, where's it at? Oh, right here. I just typed in literally Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones. Jon and Daenerys romance is weak as hell. Analyzing.
No, it's not weak. It is so good.
No, I completely agree with you. It's amazing. There was I'm apparently I'm not seeing them all now, but like it was just like hatred after hatred after hatred for all these different plot holes with the episode and everything. Which I will get into them a little bit later, but I'm with you though. I love the episode. Like we watched it last night. My girlfriend and I and one of my buddies that came and spent the weekend with us. He rode from Dallas up to where we did the fantasy football draft, and you know he'd never watched Game of Thrones in his life. Like I don't know why. Like he's a big fan of role playing games, and I'm like, dude, this is like the video game version of a role playing game, or the TV version of a video role playing game, and he's just like swept up in it. He's like, oh my god, holy shit! Like they're the dragons are burning things up, and just all kinds of craziness is going on. So he completely loved it, which was really cool to see. Like to introduce somebody new to Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately for him, he got spoiled a little bit coming in during the next to the final season and whatnot. But he still really loved it, and I mean, he'll forget all about what the hell happened in this episode as time goes on.
I never. Mostly, I don't care when people spoil things for me. I'm like, I'll sleep. It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. But so you loved it. I'm in the middle. Like my heart says I loved it. My head says what the hell was I watching, and why did they do all of these like completely asinine things in this episode in order to only have 7 episodes? Basically, that's at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. Is like they're
for
like,
sure.
We're just fast forwarding.
That's why this whole season has moved so quickly. That's why we've had fast travel after fast travel. Yeah. I mean, they've never moved this quickly. And I don't know. I kind of wonder, did they only have 7 episodes because they spent so stinking much money?
They spent a lot of money.
The dragons were just unbelievable. I'm like you. I watched the episode multiple times. Yeah. And when you get past 2, you start looking for the things like, okay, can I see, crappiness in this green screen? The dragons are perfect.
Yeah. Oh, you're not going to find any of that, I don't think. Like that's not the there's as far as I could tell, there was no mess ups when it comes to the special effects. That has been top notch this season. Yeah. Like we're more or less watching. I mean, we're watching cinematic quality television right now, which is really cool to see. But again, there's definitely a lot of fans, the book fans especially, that are like, they're just kind of burning through plot, and they're getting to things in a very weird and convenient manner. And of course, like all the fast travel. The fast travel is like the number one thing that everybody hates. But it's so hard to hate on anything in an episode whenever you literally have the dragons meet the Night King, and they're like fighting, and we see our band of heroes having a standoff in the middle of all these whites, and I just thought that was incredible. All of that stuff was fantastic. Like I loved all of the Jon, Tormund, Jorah, the conversations that Gendry was having with Thoros of Myr and Beric Dondarrion. I loved all of that. That was so glorious to watch in this episode. I love the conversations that Jon had with Tyrion, or not Jon, but Dany had with Tyrion. There's just some other things that I just wasn't really super thrilled about, but it was nice how they took it slow, because it was like an hour and a half long episode, so they took it slow leading up to that grand finish of with the dragons coming in, because they did have some nice slow moments where they're our Westerosi Avengers are making their way to that spot that the Hound saw in his vision, the visions in the fire and everything.
Right. And I liked that because it did make it where they could have those super interesting conversations. When Tormund is talking about, the woman that he loves and he wants to go back to make these monster babies with. I'm like, oh my God, I want to see those babies. And when I thought for 1 second there, I really thought we were going to lose him.
Oh God, it was rough.
It was really rough. So I was glad. I was glad this is a new and improved Game of Thrones where they don't kill the characters off.
I wouldn't say necessarily improved Game of
It depends
Thrones.
on how you look at it.
Yeah,
if you wanted Tormund to be dead,
no, I did not want Tormund to be
okay.
dead. I love Tormund on the show, and we were talking about the whole like the frozen lake and the behind the scenes stuff. That was one of my favorite parts of watching it too. Not only just seeing everything that goes into it, but the actor that plays Tormund and the actor that plays Sandor Clegane, the Hound. They're like the two biggest dudes on the show, other than the Mountain, of course. And
Right.
they have like they have like the kid in the candy store way of looking at things when they were talking about the scenes being filmed and the fact that when they're on that hill and they're battling all the whites and Rory McCain or McCann is the guy that plays the Hound, and he's like, you've just got to get into it. And the guy that plays Tormund is like, I was yelling, I was screaming, and Rory says, I've got this big Nordic bastard just screaming in my
Screaming
ears
in my
behind,
face.
in my face, and yeah, they just seem like they have so much fun together. So I'm with you though, like seeing it 3 times, every single time that moment that comes up with Tormund whenever he's getting pulled into the water, and it's just like it's a really distressing scene. Like
Yeah.
it reminded me so much of the scene at Hardhome whenever, I cannot remember her name, but the badass chick, whenever she sees the kid whites come up and she just kind of throws her weapons down and lets them
Right.
take her, and
She's done.
she crosses her arms and everything, and that it reminded me of that whenever the Hound was getting taken, not the Hound, when Tormund was getting taken. It was just it was a really sad moment, and I'm with you. I'm super stoked that they did not do that with this version of Game of Thrones, because in the past, in previous seasons, we probably would have lost somebody like Tormund, but
Right.
I still think that there was a major amount of loss. Getting into to topic number 2, and we can come back to other things we want to talk about in this episode a little bit later, but yeah, so getting into topic number 2, I know a lot of people were upset that a lot of characters seemingly had a lot of plot armor protecting them in this episode. If you don't know what plot armor is, there is I guess a definition for it, but it's a plot devices in film and television that prevent important characters from dying or being seriously injured at dramatically inconvenient moments. It often denotes a situation in which it strains credibility to believe that the character would survive. So I think the biggest ones in this were, I would assume, maybe Thoros of Myr surviving at all, I guess would be one. And again, I don't really know why he ultimately survived just for a little bit, because those other guys, when the zombie bear mauled them, they were destroyed. I mean, the no-name characters that got mauled by the zombie bear, like, they weren't even found again.
Yeah, but how many times have they been brought back to life? They're weak. They're weak.
Well, Thoros of Myr's never been brought back to life. That's
he's the bringer backer.
Yes, he's the bringer back to life.
Okay then.
Yeah, I mean he's important, but it's very weird. And then Gendry, of course, just like completely surviving. John falling into the water. No hypothermia, like he would probably freeze to death. He didn't die.
Of course he would. That horseback ride, the wind that would create as he's running off, soaking wet.
Yeah,
yeah,
it would be rough.
And Gendry he didn't do this when he ran, which totally made that unbelievable for me. You got to do the hands like this to cut through the wind. Mission Impossible style.
Yeah, exactly. Like Andrew said, oh God, people are trying to bring realism into this show. That's so stupid.
I know, it is so dumb.
It is. Sometimes when you sit back and you get off of your high horse for a second, you think about, I'm talking about like realistic situations to happen, like the fact that it would take this many days to get to this point whenever a dragon roasted a zombie.
Exactly.
You put it into
So
perspective, and you're like, oh, okay. But I mean, there is some
the
credence to,
G-force that would be created
yeah.
when the dragon takes off and all those dudes. Have you ever been to the circus and tried to ride the elephant
Mm-mm.
or a camel?
I have not.
And it's walking and it's next to impossible to sit on. I mean,
Yeah.
I horseback ride and I had a hard time riding an elephant.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, stand on the dragon. All those dudes would have, as soon as the dragon did this, they would have all peeled off,
Yeah, and those scales
So,
can't be comfortable to sit on.
No.
I mean, oh my God, that just, yeah, that's your hind end is suffering quite a bit,
Oh,
I would
yeah.
think, and
They
especially
need a
all those
saddle for
dudes,
it.
the dudes with the junk down there, even more uncomfortable, I would think of.
I think-
The Unsullied would be fantastic
Yes.
dragon riders, I do believe. So, so what do you think? Like, did the plot armor save too many in this episode?
I'm, yes, but I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not going to be. I'm enjoying this so much that I am not going to complain about the fact that, of course, there would have been more that.
So whenever Benjen Cold Hand Stark miraculously came out of nowhere,
Just shows up.
didn't see the fight go down at all with the ginormous dragons and the
Apparently-
entire army of the White Walkers and the Whites.
Who's to say if he watched? Maybe he watched and he's sitting over there. No, shit, no, I'm not getting involved.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to get involved. And then finally he goes, well, okay, what about the fact that John, how long did he have to stay underwater for all of them to clear off far
a-
enough away
Yeah.
so he comes up from the ice and, they're way the heck down there. And
Yeah.
and then they finally turn around. I mean, you know how long he had been under the water?
It had to
So-
have been under there for quite a little bit, especially with all of his, he's got his winter clothes on, and they would have been just completely sopping wet and would have dragged him down. Kind of like the whole Jamie.
Yeah.
See, and I guess that's kind of where you go with a lot of the stuff. It's just, Jamie in his armor, and then John in his armor. Well, not really necessarily his armor, but his winter coats and everything. It is interesting to think about. Does it bother me all that much? Not really. The only thing that bothered me, I guess, out of everything is the fact that I hated to see Benjen go like that. Like he's kind of every time we see him, he saves somebody. Last time we saw him, he freaking saved Bran and Mira. Now we're seeing him, he saves John. He's like, I think he's got to be around 3 out of 3. I feel like he saved somebody else the last time that he appeared before saving Bran.
But do you know for sure that he is gone?
He looked like a goner to me.
Okay, John looked like a goner.
Yeah, this is true. John did look like a goner.
But we stayed around long enough with the camera to watch him come up. So,
we did not stick around long enough to see Benjen come up out of all those whites.
Right.
But it is that one a little bit is confusing for me because he's already dead.
He's dead.
So how do the whites kill an already? Maybe they just completely rip him to shreds. I
That's
don't know.
the only thing I could think of.
But it was horrifying to watch, and I was really sickened that we lost Benjen because I kept thinking that he's out there somewhere. Benjen eventually is going to be a major player. Because I think earlier Tanya said that it's too late to introduce new badasses, so we need everyone to stay alive at this point. I think that's
exactly right.
I think that's it's a very valid point because you look around the landscape of the Game of Thrones characters, there's not a whole lot of characters left at this point.
Well, and they don't have time to make us care about any characters that they introduce.
Yeah.
So, we have deep-seated feelings for the ones that we have. We need to keep them alive long enough so that they can all kill each other.
Well, they can all at least fight next season. It's
a joke. I'm making jokes, man.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, they're definitely going to need to be around all next season, and we need fighters around. So for me, like, did plot armor save too many? Not really. I mean, and I think that they did an excellent job at making me super stressed about thinking that Tormund was going to die or thinking that Jorah may die in this episode.
Oh,
so
when he flew off the dragon and
yeah,
it's like, no, we just got him back. he was tortured for no reason. So.
Yes, I know it was rough. My boy Jorah, because I love the conversation that Jon and Jorah had with one another, and it made me
Should he have taken
long.
long claw back?
No, I don't think so. I think that was like the exact way that conversation should have went down, because Jon is, again, he's super honorable, he's super respectful of traditions, and I just thought it was such a great scene between those two for them to have that conversation, and because I guess with Jorah, I don't really think about him a lot as like this ex-slave trader, because that never really came into play in the show. It's all kind of like his backstory that we never saw actually happen on screen, and so I forget about that sometimes, and like how far he's really came, aligning with Dany, this person that is completely freeing all the slaves out there.
My queen.
Yes, my queen. He wishes that it would be more than his queen, but it's just never going to happen for poor old Jorah. But no, I think that it was appropriate that Jorah said, no, my father gave this to you. You should have this. But I loved all that scene, but between those two, because those are characters that's what's been so great about these last couple of episodes, getting to see all these characters that have never been on screen together at any point in Game of Thrones. And in my opinion, I think they're doing an excellent job with what they're trying to accomplish, with the fact that Game of Thrones is wrapping up and these characters are just now getting to have on-screen time with them, and you can already kind of feel like I already felt the chemistry between Jorah and Jon. That immediate, like they haven't been together a whole lot, hardly at all. And I could already see like these two would go to battle with one another and sacrifice each other's lives for that other person. And I think that that's pretty impactful stuff whenever they've only been together for a couple of episodes. And everybody's saying that the writing is not as strong anymore. I just think that there's not as many wasted moments on the show anymore. At least that I think of. I don't feel like that there's too many wasted moments. Now, I will say, getting to topic number 3, where the hell is Bran? I feel like this is the only wasted moment with the show, and I don't know what they're doing here. I just feel like everything between Sansa and Arya is completely manufactured drama that I don't know what they're doing, and Bran could alleviate all of this with a quick little, "Hey, I'm gonna, this is my vision here. This is, I saw the past. This is how it really went down."
Right.
But he's just like completely absent, nowhere to be found. What the hell?
I don't know what's going on with that, and I'm with you as far as I'm not digging the whole animosity between the two sisters. I mean, the Starks should all be on the same page. They should all have each other's back. These guys fighting, it's just, and then when you see Sansa, pull Littlefinger in and have this hushed conversation, I'm like, shit. What are you people doing? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's a whole weird thing with that whole plot line in Game of Thrones this season, in my opinion, because they spent a lot of time with it, and I ultimately feel like I think the show this season would have been better suited to spend more time with Cersei and Jaime than with this whole Arya and Sansa storyline. Like, if at the end of the day they're ultimately going to like get rid of Littlefinger off the show with this whole plot line, because that's the only logical conclusion. We've talked about that before.
All right. What if Arya kills him and she takes
his face?
Takes his face. I'm assuming, I mean, that's, since Sansa discovered the bag of faces.
Yeah, that was creepy.
That has to be where I was like, could you imagine? I mean, it's not like today where, you could run across somebody having masks.
Yeah,
back then that was not a thing, really.
Well, it's like, you have a really good friend, and they're pretty normal people, and you go over to their house one time, and you you go into their closet for whatever reason. They're like, hey, yeah, pick up my jacket. It's in the closet. And you go in there and they've got like ball chains, gags,
Yeah. Yeah.
all of that. The little bit of
Mm-hmm.
they have their
Mm-hmm.
freaky time stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of like Sansa finding these creepy faces and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't really understand it. The plot is just that's one to me where I can totally see it getting the ire of like all of the Game of Thrones fans, book readers, whoever it may be.
I think it'll have a payoff though.
Well, yeah, it's gonna have a sweet payoff,
Mm-hmm.
but I would have much rather spent time with Cersei and Jaime, like
Oh,
seeing all their scheming behind the scenes and everything. Like,
you know I would.
yeah, you know something's going on there, and with this, just like looking at this episode as a side note with the storyline, I thought that the way that they edited in the Sansa and Arya storyline into this episode felt completely off to me. I don't know if it felt the same way to you, but whenever so we have the big battle, freaking Viserion freaking gets killed. It's horrible.
It was sad. It was so sad. I cried the second time I watched.
Yeah.
Because the first time I watched, this is terrible, on my iPhone.
Yes.
So
It's okay. I mean, it
I
sucks
get
that you had to watch it on your iPhone, but you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
exactly. And so when you see it in the on the big screen, you're like, oh my God, it was so sad.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so sad.
It was extremely sad. We'll get into a little bit more of it too, because I want to talk about lots of all the ramifications of that. But it's like they cut right back to that Sansa and Arya stuff, and I think they immediately went to it was more or less whenever Jon came back. Dany was up there, and I think it was who was it that was with her? It wasn't Sir Davos that was saying this? It was Jorah. Jorah was saying, "Hey, we've got to get going and everything." And Dany's standing up there. She's like, "Just
one more second. Okay, I turned away.
And there he comes.
Ryder's coming.
Yeah.
Open the gate.
Yeah. So we had that, and then we see that Jon makes it, and I think they show him with all his wounds and everything. And
no, that's not what they were showing. They were showing his abs.
Oh, his abs with his nasty burns everywhere, or not burns, but cuts.
She hadn't seen the abs. I'm saying this was all about building the heat between the two of them. She wasn't looking at him going, "Oh, your cuts." Oh, she was like,
Look at that 20-pack that's on Jon Snow.
You may be short.
Yeah.
But okay, this is my horrible pun that I came up with. Maybe Dany has decided she's going to bend the knee.
Oh, man.
That's a bad one.
Good one, Mom. I think we just lost a couple of listeners off of that one.
No, we didn't.
I think we gained like
all
30
the women,
people.
All the women are going, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Bend that knee, Dany. But anyway, so that was all great. Again, like I was trying to get back to why they cut to that next stuff, but all that stuff was so good, and I felt like the episode honestly could have ended there, or like maybe just transitioned right into like when Jon and Dany, they have that conversation and they're holding hands and he says I'm sorry. Like I felt like they should have just went kind of straight to that, but instead they went back to the Arya and Sansa stuff. And it just felt like a little bit shoehorned into the episode, where it kind of took away from some of the emotional impact of like, because then we had to get back into that scene again a little bit later, and then of course we got the amazing scene at the very end whenever we get Viserion turning into an ice dragon and everything. So that was incredible. But I don't want to stick on Arya and stuff for too long, because it just wasn't it's not one of my favorite plots in this season. But I do wonder, like, it's like, again, with the convenientness and everything. Bran's sticking around up there. He's literally, like, at the Godswood in Winterfell, and they're just, like, going to him when it's ultimately convenient for the story to move forward, as opposed to, like, all this manufactured drama between Arya and Sansa, which, it's weird. I never really was a big fan of Sansa, but...
I was never a big fan of Arya.
Well... I think it was what gets in my mind when I ultimately think of Arya is her and the Hound. and I loved whenever it was Arya and the
Yeah.
Hound. Like they were so much fun together, going in taverns and killing people.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it was great.
Adorable.
Yeah, it was such a. I mean, it was like the the father that she didn't have and everything to
Hmm.
go off and kill all these people, because I definitely feel like. As much as I loved Ned, and I think Ned's like the perfect father and everything, but I almost feel like Arya needs a father like the Hound to let her loose, because she's a little bit psychotic now. Whenever she said the stuff to Sansa and said, I wonder what it would be like to wear your pretty face.
And all your pretty dresses.
Yeah, what a creeper.
Yes, yes.
What a creeper.
And she grabs the knife.
She
And
did.
then she hands it to her. And it's kind of like, well, okay, it's nice that you handed her the knife, but why did you grab it in the first place? She's still bigger than you. She could still jump on you. I mean,
don't know.
she can scream, guard, guard, and, they come grab Arya, and, I mean, shit could happen.
Shit could happen, but I don't know. I think Arya could definitely take Sansa. But
Arya is cocky, and
Arya-
that's her downfall.
Yeah. Oh, it annoyed the shit out of me that she was so cocky. Because I'm thinking the whole time, the majority of the suffering that Arya experienced was basically brought upon herself in the show. Like, whenever she's trying to compare experiences, I'm like, you can't hold the candle to the shit that Sansa went through.
See, and that's my issue.
Yeah.
With their whole storyline is you have two sisters that haven't seen each other in years. Well, let's talk about the shit that went down. Oh my God, what happened to you? Oh, that's awful. I can't believe that. And you were just a little teeny kid. You saw father being killed. Then what happened? Then where did you go? How did you stay alive?
Yeah, you think that they would be bonding over like cups of wine and talking about their horror stories and
exactly
saying like
sitting around the fire with their feet in a little pail of water and
and plotting to kill Cersei. I mean, they both want Cersei dead. Like at the end of the day, it's frustrating. It's frustrating as shit. Like to see them not get along. And Tanya is right. Tanya said in the chat. But they've never communicated with one another, and they've definitely never done that very well. That's for sure.
Right, but they were so much younger.
Yeah, and they've experienced so many more things now in life, and I mean, you can tell that Sansa has grown in a lot of ways where it doesn't feel like Arya really grew. Like she's still
a little kid.
Yeah, she's still a little kid. She just seems to be, like you said, very cocky about her badassery. And seems to want to strut that off to Sansa with again, like you said, why the hell have they not had this conversation about, hey, freaking Joffrey tortured me the entire time I was with him. Oh yeah, by the way, Ramsay Bolton raped me.
On our wedding night.
Yeah, on our wedding night, and did all these other terrible, horrible things to me. His girlfriend basically. More or less tried to murder me all the time.
But then I fed him to the dogs, and that part was really cool. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Michael says in the chat, it's a weak plot line and totally unnecessary.
Yes.
I completely agree. My end of story is I felt like they could have spent their time more wisely with more entertaining plot lines. We
got no Jamie.
No.
And it's hard for me to give a 5-star rating with no Jamie.
Yeah, no. Well, think about this. All that really great Euron stuff, we have not gone back to Euron.
What the crap is he?
At all. Like, and I think that he's love him or hate him as a character. Like, you probably do both because he's so freaking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we just kind of completely went away from that. And yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting next week to see how they wrap everything up in at least a somewhat of a bow for this season. Obviously, it's not going to be a complete bow because we're just picking things up for season 8 whenever that comes out. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Tanya does say that I think Sansa and Arya will pay off, like you said. I do think I'm with you guys. Mm-hmm. I do think it's going to have a really badass payoff, and it's going to be like, oh shit, like that's what you're going to do.
It's totally that they are going to kill Littlefinger.
Yeah, and that's
Sansa's finally going to get the son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I was starting to feel like he really was on my side.
Yeah,
and he's not. So let's cut his face off.
Yeah.
And then you can fake a lot of people out while you pretend to be him. We'll use that, I don't know how, but it'll be awesome when it happens.
Yeah, I think that would have been really cool to see in maybe a previous season or two. Like if she would have taken over Littlefinger's face back whenever he actually could go back and forth with Cersei, because now it doesn't really matter. Like that's I mean, like what Littlefinger's going to come in with Cersei, and I mean he is a snake, so maybe Cersei would be like, oh, this is a part of like I'm going to be able to get them back even more in the north, those traitorous bastards, and Littlefinger's here to come basically deliver me the Knights of the Vale and everything. So it could pay off next season, like the ultimate payoff, because we know that that's number one on her kill list at this point is Cersei. Littlefinger's not even on the list as of right now. She doesn't know that he was basically plotting to and was the mastermind by taking Ned out, more or less.
Right.
So it is going to be great to see. I just wish they would have spent a little bit more time with some of the other characters, seeing some of the other stuff, or letting some of the other stuff breathe a little bit more this season, as opposed to like running through lots and lots of plot and not really getting to see much of the Night King until this episode. So,
and Tanya, that's an excellent question. Where the crap is Robin? Sorry,
I don't know.
Our dear Robin. Somebody needs to text her.
Yeah, tell Robin where you at. Where you at? But I think she's talking about Roy. I think she's talking about Robin from the Vale. I feel like that's who she's talking about. The different
she's talking
Robin.
about Robin. Nope, she's talking about Robin. Tanya and I, we got this, right, Tanya?
You guys are on the same wavelength. Michael brings up an interesting question. The show is a cash cow. Why would they do this? It's frustrating. I think we discussed this a little bit last week, or maybe the week before. Just basically that we think that D&D are ultimately done. They've been doing this for, good God, 7 seasons of their life, but the pre-production and the planning and everything they probably spent 12 to 15 years on making Game of Thrones come to life and everything. And so they're probably just like, hey, we're tired. We want to go do something else. I don't really ultimately think Confederate is maybe their best move. I don't think that's the best move. And I'm like, why the hell would you not just want to make more badass Game of Thrones as opposed to this like Confederate show?
Why wouldn't you be part of the prequels?
Yeah, I don't know.
You would think you would have an awesome voice.
Yeah.
Who knows more about it than
them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you think about how amazing it has been to see them bring the book to life, it's incredible. Like you don't see this. Like we're big Walking Dead fans, and it's really cool to see some of the stuff that they bring to life from the comic books and everything. But in reality, it kind of pales in comparison sometimes, like to the grand scale that they bring the Game of Thrones books to life in the HBO TV show. Like it's just amazing. It's incredible, and now the fact that they're getting all these plot points that Martin gave them to like wrap everything up, and I think they're doing a really good job of wrapping things up. It just sucks. Like all of us we're in the same boat. It's like, why do you want to do this? Like we're loving the show. Like every week they keep breaking their own records of the most viewed episodes, and I'm just thinking, if you're building. Nobody, but Breaking Bad was the same exact way. Now,
right, exactly. Do you continue on with a cash cow, or do you wrap it up so that people let you go out on
top,
on a high note?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and actually, seriously, getting back to Robin though, don't you feel like there's no way that Littlefinger would have let him live?
Yeah. Robin. I don't see Robin ever coming back into the show
because he was a teat sucking, 12-year-old,
yes.
And when his mom got pushed out the sky window or the air hole, whatever that was, I just didn't feel like Littlefinger was like, oh, buddy, come on, I'm going to raise you to be slimy. Well, maybe he did. Because the kid was kind of little finger slimy.
Yeah, and the weird thing about it is I was just thinking about this to myself, I think earlier today or something, because I more or less think Game of Thrones like every day. Like I'll at least like just sit in my chair and I'm like,
Well,
well, what would happen if this happened?
exactly.
What would and so I'm thinking to
You weren't
myself.
sitting in a chair either.
No, I was probably on the toilet.
On the toilet.
That's a chair of sorts. That's a chair of
It's a
sorts.
throne. It's a throne.
But yeah, it is the literal throne. Uh, there's no more Starks. Like the Stark name will not go on. How sad is that? Because everybody's super stoked that Jon is going to turn out to be a Targaryen. I'm kind of bummed about that.
Yeah,
Like, you know, uh,
it's sad.
and
The bloodline is gone.
so the bloodline is more or less gone if Jon's not a Targaryen, the Targaryen bloodline's gone. If Jon is a Targaryen, then the Stark bloodline is gone because Bran can't have kids anymore. I don't think.
Okay, that's why. Just because his legs don't work doesn't mean
His man parts don't work. I don't know, but
his
he's
cock,
but
his dick.
yeah, you remember that. You got to remember
Yes,
that Tormund learned
that
a new
was-
word this episode.
It's
Dick.
like, I like dick. I think you do like dick.
Yeah, I bet you do. But yeah, this has not been explained on the show, obviously, but more or less, I'm thinking he's not Bran anymore. So
Right.
he's the three-eyed Raven now, and the three-eyed Raven was certainly not getting busy out
Well,
there making babies.
And he did say that he's not Lord Stark.
Sorry, Brian came in with the best comment of the day with the
Right.
help of some fermented crab. Yeah, if Sir Davos can just get Bran some fermented crab, all will be good with the Starks. But yeah, that was just like a total side thing I was thinking about. Just the fact that, man, the Starks are gone, and when you're talking about Robin, like he's still an Aaron, and he's the last Aaron left at this point. There's so many names and so many of the houses that have just been completely destroyed.
Yep.
Like the Martells, like I freaking love them. I was watching the guy that played Oberyn. I was watching an interview with him on how he got the Game of Thrones gig. It is the coolest thing ever. I just want to tell you real quick because I thought I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I saw it on Facebook. More or less, he got the gig because he was being an acting coach to this one kid. He was mentoring this 25-year-old actor, and this 25-year-old kid got these, he got these notes, he got these sides and everything for this role, and it turned out to be the role of Oberyn. And so Oberyn's like reading it. The guy that plays Oberyn, he's reading it and everything, and he's just like,
Give me those notes, kid.
more or less, he like got his iPhone out and like recorded him reading it, reading out the lines and everything, reciting it, and he sent it to Sarah Paulson, which I guess Sarah Paulson is like a really good, like best friend of Amanda Peet, and Amanda Peet is married to Benioff, I think, or Wise, I don't know, one of the D&Ds.
One of the D&Ds.
Yeah, she's married to them, and so like it was this like big long process, but yeah, he basically stole like these this part from like the kid that he was mentoring and everything. But yeah, the reason why I said this because there's another house that has just been taken out in the Game of Thrones. So, all right. So, do you have any other thoughts before we get into like the episode finale predictions? Is Cersei setting up a trap? And we didn't really get much into the battle and losing Viserion. Do you want to talk about that just for a little bit?
I mean, other than the fact that shit is totally changed now. Now you have a dragon for the bad dudes, and I can't wait to see, is it blue flames that he shoots out of his mouth? I mean,
ice.
that's gonna, oh Jesus, could you imagine all these ice shards come at you? That shit's gonna hurt.
Yeah,
so,
that sounds extremely painful. Think about that freaking spear. He basically threw that spear with the same amount of force that ballista that was used earlier.
well,
That's insane.
An Olympic javelin thrower,
Yes.
obviously, before he died.
Yes, the Night King needs to go ahead and get ready for the Olympics. What is it? 2024, I don't know when the next Olympics is.
Hashtag make winter games interesting.
Well, that would technically be the summer games, but maybe he can survive in the summer. Who knows? He's going down south. But yeah, it was extremely sad. Every time I've watched that part in this episode, I want to tear up because the way that Viserion is flying through the air and that spear hits him and just the blood and guts and they did an exceptional job on the
Yes.
CGI. Like, I mean, holy crap, it looked phenomenal.
So here's the question.
Yeah.
You've got two of the dragons that are flying freely and able to battle. Why does Dany necessarily have to be riding a dragon? I mean, it sounds like you can whisper in their ear, "This is what I need you to go do."
Yeah.
And they go do it. Because it's. I mean, the queen riding into battle a bazillion feet in the air on a dragon.
Yeah.
It seems like
badass.
Very badass and also stupid and dangerous.
Well, like it was very weird that the Night King, I don't know if he just wanted to show off his arm or what, his pinpoint accuracy. Like Michael said, maybe he was trying out for the NFL draft or something like that. Because it was very odd to me that you've got Drogon right in front of you. You got Jon, you got Dany, you got the whole gang right there in front of you. Why would you not just take that spear and take that dragon out? Like, while they're right there on that dragon, and instead of going for Viserion, again, Drogon's got that plot armor.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely does. I'm glad he does. He's a badass. He is one badass motherfucking dragon. Like, Drogon is. He's awesome. But when Viserion died, it gutted me. Like, it was so emotional, it was so rough. But I thought that this was kind of interesting because, so for a long time now we've talked about that there may be 3 dragon riders out there, that there might actually be 3 Targaryens, and not only is Jon a Targaryen, but maybe Tyrion is a Targaryen as well. And so we kept thinking, like, 3 dragons, 3 Targaryens, they're all going to be riding them in season 8, just wrecking shit up. But so Viserion dies in this episode, and Viserion is named after Dany's brother, Viserys.
The asshole.
Exactly, the asshole. So was this dragon doomed from the beginning?
I never would have named him after the brother. Ever. That guy was such a total jerk. Why would you name something you love after somebody that was such a shitwad to you?
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought that was very weird that she would name him Viserys. So we've got Drogon, and then we've got Rhaegal, I think, is that how you pronounce it? Rhaegal? Which is named after Rhaegar, her brother, and everything. So she's still got those 2 left. And, of course, like, Rhaegar Targaryen would be Jon's daddy. So he's still got his dragon that he potentially could ride in the future and everything. So that's kind of cool. But it definitely puts the brakes on Tyrion ever riding a dragon, and most likely Tyrion ever being a Targaryen or anything. So, which kind of stinks. That stunk quite a bit. But I think it was worse that Viserion died in this episode. Then he was turned into a freaking ice dragon, which was incredible to see. Like, the CGI for that was also top notch. To see his eye like turn into that,
I know.
like, that blue. Ooh.
He had that beautiful green eye as it closed, and I'm like, and then it opens up, whoosh, that just bright blue like the rest of them. That was amazing. Although where the chains came from out in the middle of nowhere to pull him out of the lake, I have no idea, because those were some huge friggin' chains.
Those were like chains from like those big gigantic warships.
Exactly. and maybe that's where they came from, but shit. Still, how did they get them out there? Because those dudes didn't have big pockets.
No,
I didn't see any wagons.
See, this is where I get, like, this is where I go off in the deep end, and I start thinking, did the Night King set Jon and them up? Like, and I don't know anything about this, so this isn't spoilers or anything, because I haven't read anything deep into this. It's just like my my thoughts on. So we know that the Hound saw that vision in the flames, and so
Right.
that's where they were like, we got to go there because I saw this vision in the flames. We also know that the Children of the Forest, I believe that's where they created the Night King, or at least the White Walkers, was up on that hill and everything. So I'm wondering, did the Night King set up this entire trap? Can he basically do like Bran? See, like I'm thinking that he
Maybe.
has the same powers as Bran, like he can warg into things and everything, and see the past. I feel like that he may have those same exact powers because every time Bran and the Three-Eyed Raven like would be going back in the visions, he would see them. Like he could see Bran in the visions and everything. So I'm thinking like, holy shit, was this a complete like setup that they wanted to get one of the dragons so that way now not only does he have freaking zombie giants, now he has a zombie ice dragon as well, and that was like the whole reason behind why it was such a. It felt so everything felt so convenient that like the entire army was there, and the fact that there's all these like images and stuff and illustrations on the fact that like this season how far Jon has traveled and how little the Night King and his army have traveled since we last saw them at Hardhome. They've barely gotten like 20 miles since we
Maybe
saw
they
them
didn't
at
want to
Hardhome.
go anywhere. They're
Again,
waiting for everyone to come to them.
Exactly. Like that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, was it all a complete setup? Is that why they had the chains? Because they this is what
They
they
planned it.
Yeah, this is what they wanted to have happen. That's me like really giving the writers a lot of credit. But I feel like
And I have a feeling it's going to be one of those things that probably isn't going to be explained.
ever go anywhere. Yeah. I don't know. Like so Brian said that would explain why he didn't bother killing Jon and his group. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's something more to Jon because the way that they freaking look at each other, Jon and the Night King, and there's this whole conspiracy theory that that the Night King is a Stark or something like that. So I don't. It's just. Again, that's what's so great about Game of Thrones is because you can go. I mean, there's obviously people that are way more into this than I am that have actually explored these rabbit holes and probably have fantastic videos that illustrate these points using some like book materials and everything like that. So I don't know.
Reddit.
Reddit.
Have to go to Reddit.
Yeah, all the folks on Reddit and everything is the same way. So, all right. Well. Predictions for next week.
Yeah, I knew that's what you were. That's why I was already shaking my head. I have no predictions, really. I mean, as far as like who's going to die, I know I'm excited. I know I can't wait.
You don't have to have death predictions or anything. I'm just kind of curious. Like, do you think that Cersei is going to? Is she? Is she setting up a trap for them? I kind of feel like it.
Did you see the preview?
I did. It was a fantastic freaking preview. It's like, I mean, everybody's coming together. Like the Dothraki army, the Unsullied. Like, I mean, it looks incredible.
Everybody in this beautiful, sunshiny spot.
Yeah.
And
will that white make it?
Well, I mean, my God.
That's a long ways to go.
Yeah, it's a long ways to go. And they poked a dragon scale through him. So, it's like...
Was that the Hound that put him on that?
Yes, he's like,
scale?
Pop that son of a bitch on here. He's going to stay. Like, okay. I mean, it wasn't dragon glass, so... so I guess it wouldn't kill him. I don't know. But the line where Jon says that... there's only one war, basically. I'm paraphrasing,
and it is here.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to stop. I mean, come on, Jon. I am Jon Snow.
Nice. You're a bastard, so I guess you're right.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, but yeah, no. So, do you think that is to throw us off? Because the way that they cut it, it makes it look like, for all of us that have been watching shit. Obviously, he's talking about the war. The only war that matters is here, and it's the Night King versus us. But then the way that they cut that preview, it kind of looks like he's like, nah, hell nah, Cersei. Like
Yep.
you were doing some crazy shit. The only war that matters is us killing you right
Killing
now.
you.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me. Like all of this stuff has just been, uh, like we think that John only is single-minded,
Yeah.
and when in fact he's like, oh no, I'm gonna hook up with the next queen of everything,
Yeah.
and we're gonna kill you first. Okay, can I look ahead to happy endings at the very end?
Of the
At
show?
the very end of the show?
Sure. Do you think that there's going to be a happy ending to the Game of Thrones?
I I feel like there's gonna be a baby. I feel like John and Danny
Oh my
will
gosh.
have children.
Think they're going to consummate and
Hmm.
well, hmm.
I don't know. I just
There
feel
was
like
a lot of heat in this episode, and now
there-
it's like more and more people are coming like signing up
I'm
a little bit
totally
more and more
on
with
that
that.
train.
Like,
I don't care if they are related. They're not like, brother and sister. It's okay.
well, the Targaryens, they were all like incestuous. So like,
Exactly.
who really knows if it's like his aunt or his sister like at this point,
Well,
because they're all
okay,
like
think
doing
about
some
it.
crazy stuff.
You didn't have really close neighbors. You didn't go out and see people. You didn't have the internet where you can like, make a
You
boyfriend
can't
on the
swipe
internet.
right or swipe
No,
left, whatever you
exactly.
swipe
So,
with those.
you were like, hey,
Hey, my cousin, she's super hot.
she looks good. She
There's-
comes to all the family reunions.
There's nobody else
Let's do
around here
this
in
thing.
Winterfell.
Let's-
Let's get it on.
Hey, girl.
Yeah,
Hey,
no.
girl. Or was it, it was the Hound? Or was it Tormund? Which one of those big bastards was it that said, you take what you can get?
Oh well, that was Tormund talking to
Yeah, talking to Gendry.
To Gendry.
I loved it.
You make do with what you have.
So,
Yeah, I think Tanya says no, and then Brenda says yes. I think that even though it was brought up again that Dany couldn't have kids, I think something is going to happen and she will find out that she is pregnant. Brian says, I really want Brienne and Tormund to have children. They deserve a happy ending, but I'm being too optimistic probably. Tanya said, once Dany finds out Jon is the true heir, she will not take it well. So Brian wants the happy ending, but Juan says, if you think that there's going to be a happy ending, then you haven't been paying attention.
Okay. Have you been watching this season?
There's been a lot of happy endings this season.
Exactly. That is my answer to that. Up until this season, I would have said, there's no one I like is going to be left.
Yeah. I know. I'm with you. Like the more episodes I see this season, even though a lot of people, we even put the topic in here, the fact that did plot armor save too many? Because there is a lot of questioning of like, should more of our heroes have died? Was that just completely nonsensical for more of our heroes not to die in this whole thing?
Yep.
But at the end of the day, like,
But did I want them to? Nope.
No, I didn't want them to die either. But there's a whole lot more episodes. Like, I mean, yes, in the grand scheme of things, there's not a whole lot of episodes left, but there are 7 episodes left, counting next season. That's a lot of episodes for a lot of our characters to get killed off.
Oh, heck yeah.
And
They could get killed next week.
yeah, they could. It's going to be a weird finale, I think, because it definitely seems like there's going to be lots of, the tensions are going to be high next week, because it did look like we had, I think Euron's probably going to be there, even though we didn't see him in the episode preview. Maybe we'll see Yara. Look like Theon was in it a little bit as well. I think they're gonna show a little bit of everybody. I don't know. I don't know about this happy ending. I still feel like what we're ultimately going to see is the Night King wins, and maybe we get that. But we talked about this a couple weeks ago, that I ultimately feel like that Jon and Dany will hook up, regardless of how incestuous it is. But I mean, come on, we've already got one incestuous relationship. Throw in another one. And then the Night King wins, and Jon Snow and Dany's baby is Azor Ahai, and that is the one that truly comes back in and saves Westeros. But we won't see it. It'll be one of those endings where we just don't see it happen, and we're all going to be hating it.
But you can talk about it for years and years to come, because they didn't solve it all for you.
Exactly. And maybe that's just me. I don't really want it to happen that way. I want Game of Thrones to have a true ending. But there's a big part of me that feels like it's just not gonna happen, and then like they'll kind of leave it open ended to that way, like they do the prequels, and then if they're like just like we're printing gold here, then they can come back to that story and ultimately wrap it up from there. So
on the CW.
Yeah, CW. No, there's plenty of pretty people on Game of Thrones.
Oh my God, they're all so.
You look up Beric Dondarrion. Like you look that dude up. I was.
I know I did
thrown
look him
off.
up.
He's
47 years old, and he could read the fucking phone book to me. That voice is just creamy goodness. Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
I was completely thrown off by how good looking that dude was.
I know.
I was just like, that's Beric Dondarrion? Like the same dude with the eye patch and
I know. Because I looked him up too, and I'm like, no, this can't be right.
Yeah.
He's so handsome on IMDb.
Yeah, it is
Audible
crazy.
Chocolate, yes.
Audible chocolate. Nicely done, Brian. Nicely done. Okay. All right. Well, what are you going to give this episode? How many bacons out of 5?
I'm gonna give this a 4.5 bacons.
4.5 bacons out of 5. That's still a really good score. I mean,
It is a really good score, but I've been consistently giving 5 bacons.
You have been.
So
you have been consistently giving those 5 bacons.
And the only reason a half a bacon off is the convenience of the episode.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I think I said earlier something along the lines of like my heart said it's a badass episode, but my head says like what the hell's going on. So my heart says a 10 out of 10 because I was completely engrossed in this episode. It was, in my opinion, like must watch. Don't look at your phone. If somebody else is talking in the room, they need to shut the hell up. TV. So that gives it a 10 out of 10, which would be 5 out of 5 bacons. But my head says a 6, which would be a 3 out of 5 bacons. So I'm going to give this episode a 4 out of 5 bacons for this week's Game of Thrones. I will severely miss Viserion being a badass. There's lots of people out there saying that Bran's going to warg into Viserion and use him against the Night King. I call bullshit on that. I don't think that's going to happen.
But we haven't really seen him using that heavily. Yeah. It hasn't been factored in a lot.
No.
Unless, I don't know, by next season in 2019, he will have grown a lot.
His powers will have, just exploded and been so much better. So 4 out of 5 bacons for me, 4.5 out of 5 bacons for you. Tanya said that's a low score for Kelly. It is indeed. She's typically on the 5 bacon train. She loves everything that Game of Thrones does. Game of Thrones,
and I did. They can do no wrong in my opinion. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But
Game of Thrones could shit on Kelly's doorstep, and she would step in it and say that was a 5 out of 5 bacon shit.
I would collect it and put it under my pillow.
No, gross. That is disgusting, Mom. That is so gross.
I can't believe that after next week.
It's it.
I mean, I'm so bummed that the season has gone by so fast.
It has gone by way too fast.
Fear the Walking Dead.
I know. We're gonna get. Okay, so you guys that just tune in and maybe you listen or maybe you watch these live streams, in which we greatly appreciate. Like, this has been so much fun, like having you guys interact with us. But we move on to Fear the Walking Dead after Game of Thrones. That's like going from like this amazing steak to a shit sandwich. Okay, maybe it's not a shit sandwich.
It's not a shit sandwich.
But whenever you finish Game of Thrones and then you go directly into that, it's like you've got to level set those expectations again.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's a mayonnaise sandwich.
There you go, mayonnaise sandwich. Okay, yeah. It used to be the poop sandwich.
Yes,
but now it's a mayonnaise sandwich.
It's just.
Yeah, I completely agree. Tanya said I'm giving it 4.75 bacons for the character interactions. I would nothing wrong with that. I completely agree. Brian said 4.5 out of 5 for the banter in the beginning. Fantastic banter. You are completely right about that, Brian. Whenever you can totally make Gendry's face turn completely red, thinking that he's going to get sexed up by Tormund, that's some fantastic banter right there. Banter. Brenda said, no, Fear was pretty good last season. You're right. You were just kidding.
It was.
Brenda.
It was.
Kidding.
Yes. We're just comparing it to Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But to other TV, it was great.
Yeah, it was great. And then Tammy said 4.5 out of 5 bacons. I'm behind though. So, well, you're gonna have to catch up. You're gonna have to catch up, Tammy. So, all right. I think that's all for us for this episode. We want to thank you guys all for hanging out in the chat here on the Facebook live stream. If you want to be a part of it, if you're listening right now on audio, or if you're watching it later on when we post it on YouTube, and you want to be a part of the discussion, we do it each and every Monday night. We'll only do it one more Monday night for Game of Thrones. But yeah, so you can find it. It's just facebook.com/rantpocalypse. I wanted to say a gigantic thank you to Laura and Robin and Sue Ellen. You guys are the real MVPs. They went on patreon.com and pledged their support for these two old ass people that chat about Game of Thrones. So we wanted to say thank you so much for that.
Y'all are the best. Absolutely the best. And even if you don't pledge anything, you're still the best.
Yeah, for hanging out with us, you're the best. But if you do want to help support us, you can go to patreon.com/rantpocalypse. We promise that we're eventually gonna. Yeah, it's up there on the screen right now.
Yeah.
We promise eventually that we're gonna put up tiers and goals and all that kind of stuff, so it'll be a little bit more fancy. And then Tanya said, go watch Outlander. I've heard there's some dudes that you might be into on Outlander, and I've heard the show's good.
That is on
Stars.
Oh yeah, because I've been paying for Stars for months now, and didn't know it. So.
Well, now
I'll go do that. I'll go do that.
Go watch Outlander.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Everybody, we hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Enjoy all the Game of Thrones discussions leading up to the finale. We only have one more week to savor the fact that we have a new episode of Game of Thrones. So we got to savor it, guys. I mean, we got to hold on super tight this week and love it and caress it. Do all those things like Tormund wants to do to Brienne. So
exactly.
All right. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.
Bye.